Hi guys, Paul UK Reefer, back again during the everlasting and what seems like forever cycle of my Reefer 250. I keep telling myself to be patient, but I have to say I am struggling big time. I just want to get in there. I'm going on holiday soon, so I shouldn't really be messing with it, but I haven't been able to help myself. So I continued with the Reef Mature program to its completion. That started way back on the 28th of, hold on a minute, February, which feels like forever ago. So we're now a massive 3, 6, 9, 12, like 28 days, so we're nearly a month in. And all I was getting up until this week was a little bit of nitrite. I kept telling myself, just leave it, the nitrite will suit itself. I had a big bacterial bloom. The bacterial bloom finally started to subside. You think I'm lying? I'm not. The fact that the water is still cloudy is a point that we'll get onto in a minute. But I gave it a very little water change just to put some fresh in there. And again, probably shouldn't have done that because we're trying to build a biological filtration, but it helped and the bacterial bloom was all but gone. I still carried on with hardly any nitrite and some nitrate, which suggests that you're on the way to cycled. I wasn't convinced. I saw no ammonia, no large ammonia intake from the Reef Mature program. I've got dry rock, dry sand, and the reality is if you're not sure, you're never going to put a fish in there. So yes, I could have waited another 3 weeks for a bit of nitrite to very slowly subside, but that wouldn't have left me with any confidence that I had enough biological filtration to start looking after a fish. So I decided that in true normal cycling measures, putting ammonia in and then watching it go from ammonia content in and measured through to nitrite and through to nitrate is the only way to be sure. So I thought, what's the harm? Let's chuck a bit of ammonia in, which I did. So I bought some Dr. Tim's ammonia, which I shall try and put on the camera now. This is the gear. Dr. Tim's ammonia, ammonium chloride solution, quite cheap. Put a load of drops of that according to the directions into a higher flow area, and then the Senai and my testing showed that I had just over 1.5 parts per million in ammonia. So good, great, we've got ammonia. I then watched ammonia stay exactly the same, if not grow slightly, for the next 5 days. And I'm thinking, we currently have absolutely no nitrifying bacteria in there because the ammonia is not moving at all. So just reading quite a lot, done a massive amount of watching of Milev's reef videos, and I just thought, I mean, all the way through it is about live rock, live sand, all the rest of it, and who cares about hitchhikers. I was pretty much not of that mindset, but seeing absolutely no nitrifying bacteria in at all, I decided it's about time we give it a bit of a kick in the right direction without risking adding the hitchhikers that I've been trying to avoid. So I decided the happy medium was one very small bag of live sand. So I went with Carib Sea, Fiji, live Fiji sand, which has been in the tank for about 2 hours, which is why it looks like the bacterial bloom never went away. So I'll try and zoom in a little bit, bear with me. You should be able to see in the bottom here, there's a very slight grain change. So the top of the sand is the Fiji stuff, and underneath is the normal argonite crushed coral. Hopefully that will start building a bit of a bacterial culture in the tank and help the cycle carry on through. I couldn't care less if it takes another month for it to complete, but I would like to see things moving and some bacteria doing some work. The plan is to hopefully let all of the ammonia that's in the tank now turn through nitrite all the way to nitrate, then to do a couple of water changes to freshen up the water, and then I'm going to add another little bit of ammonia just to make sure. I'm doing all of that because I don't want to risk putting a fish in and it dying, to be honest. I just don't think it's fair, and I've got time on my hands, there is no rush. So yeah, although I've not stuck to my original plan of just doing the biological Reef Mature program and it working, it really didn't work as it said on the box, and I think a lot of that to do with having absolutely zero biological filtration. When I spoke to the Red Sea rep, he suggested that you do need to adjust the instructions for the Red Sea Reef Mature program when it applies to dry rock and sand, and in the reality, I don't think that he doesn't think that much would change except for leaving it a lot longer. So anyway, I'm hoping in the long run and in a few months' time, I'm going to be laughing about the fact that it took forever to cycle this tank. And I'm hopefully going to start on the best foot possible and be able to control all the nutrients in the tank really easily, because the only nutrients in there will be the fish that I'm putting in, which will be minimal. So listening to some of the things and some of the way people do things, I'm still not completely against considering a refugium, although I was planning to just keep it with a bit of rower phos. But looking at it, I'm not even going to install the rower phos system. I'll have the carbon system ready for later on and install. I'll definitely use that time in and time out, probably every couple of weeks. But the reality is I'm going to let the tank tell me what it needs. So I'm going to start building the fish stock and maybe put a couple of LPS corals in when I get it steady, and then just look at the nitrate and phosphate. And if even a minimal fish are producing quite a lot, I'll have to be a bit more ferocious with how I control nutrients. But if it stays nice and steady, and if phosphates are not really an issue and they only grow very, very slightly, I might even consider no rower phos at all and whacking a refugium in. Or if it's even less than that, I might consider nothing at all, just a few water changes every week, and then maybe even just the odd drop of phosphate RX lanthanum or something like that as we go along to reduce them when needed. But I think the best way to do this is let the tank settle, let it mature, and understand it by just profuse testing, and then really react in that way rather than just saying this is how I'm going to do it. So yeah, I've broke the skimmer in and then now turned it off just to leave the cycle to go, but the skimmer's all ready to go. Really impressed with that. I started dosing a little bit of alkalinity actually, because the alkalinity kept dropping day in, day out. So I started dosing 6, 7, 8 mils of that. I hooked up the dosing machine just to practice using it and calibrating it. I'll show you that in a minute. Dosed that for about 3 or 4 days on the trot, and then it started to rise, and now I've turned it off and it's remained steady for a couple of days at about 9.3, which is slightly higher than I expected to keep it, but I'm in no rush. It's not making much difference, except for whatever I've read is keep it reasonably over at 8 to keep the cycle running. The lights have been off completely, the skimmer's off, and the Senai's been quite good. I've been able to check in and look at the ammonia building, keep an eye on the pH, which has been consistent, temperature. Haven't used the palm meter yet because I haven't had the tank in a position where it's not looking like someone's had a talcum powder bath in it, but sure we'll get there. So let's just take this off, and please excuse the wobbliness. And we'll have a little look at the sump. Not a huge amount changed. We will turn the light on. So dosing pump's now hooked up. If I move the test kits out of the way, you'll see we've got a bit of alkalinity solution in there, just starting with the pre-bottled Red Sea stuff because I'm not using hardly anything. That will obviously change to a powder formation later when we get a good uptake, but that's running up into the doser, and then a little bit of a tube over the back, and then being dropped in, oh, excuse the fingers, into the return chamber down there. RO, we've been going through one of these every probably 3 days if I fit it right to the top. Filter socks, I've got 6. I've been changing them once a week, and then maybe at the end of the two or 3 weeks just chuck them all in the washing machine inside out. Bit of bleach, making sure not to tell the missus at all. The Senai, as you can see there, we've got an ammonia warning, which is absolutely right because there's about, well, it's saying 80 parts per million or billion or whatever the hell it is on there, but the reality is on a Red Sea test kit it's about 1.5 parts per million, which is quite good. It's a nice amount of ammonia for the tank to start trying to deal with. Moved the heaters to the back, and that's about it really. There's the Senai. I've got copious amounts of cables down the back there. What I think I might do is perhaps look at building a little bit of a plinth to raise this up slightly to hide a bit of that, and then when you're looking you don't see it. But I've got a tiny little bit of space at the front here for some test kits, and this is the area of the sump I was talking about. So the baffle can go in there and we can make a refugium with this bit. It's quite a nice bit of flow in there, but nothing too ridiculous. So I can do that, or I can dump some rower phos in there. I'm not sure with the size of the skimmer I'm going to be able to put a refugium and then put the carbon doser in, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I've never dosed carbon before, but apparently it makes clarity good. So yeah, I'm just going to wing it basically and see what happens. So yeah, not much else to tell you about except for I'm trying to be patient, and that is a massive challenge for me. but although you can't see too well because I've just dumped the sand in, I've spent a bit of time on this side puttying the shelving that I had there. I was then happy with it. I left it a few weeks and now I'm quite happy with where that is. So that's been puttied in and drying. I then tried to putty this part onto the main rock, and then I puttied this shelf in. Still got sand on top of that and he's blowing off with a turkey baster when I get a chance. But yeah, the Fiji sand's gone in all right. I'm hoping when I turn the flow up, it's not going to go around everywhere, which is why I was looking for coarser grains, but it does look quite nice. And there's a little bit me that's quite excited that we've got something living in there, be it completely impossible to see at the moment. Let's hope that turns into some nice, strong biological filtration, and we can dump another couple of loads of ammonia over the next few weeks in and build a really good filtration system up in there, ready for maybe a couple of clowns. Stocking wise, at the moment, and I know this changes in everyone's videos, at the moment I'm pretty much going to be going with a couple of clowns, some sort of algae blenny that walks around and eats some of the green gear. Definitely either a sulphur or a yellow spot goby. Try and get a pistol shrimp as well to try and pair them up, but definitely a goby because I love them. I love anything with a bit of carrot out or that has a job. So the goby will sand sift and throw the sand about a bit. The algae blenny will eat a bit of algae. The clownfish will poo, making ammonia, and then I'll probably then try and put in a couple of wrasses, and I'm thinking along the lines of a peacock wrasse because I love the colours of them, and maybe a banana wrasse or something similar like that, or I think there's a black spot wrasse, I'm not quite sure, but that will hopefully then munch on any parasites that are in there or anything that's in the tank that needs eating. So that's the stocking list. May change, may add another one to it, but I really don't want to go too much with the fish. I just want this to be a coral tank, and that's the plan at the minute. So thank you for tuning in. Please bear with me. I've had a couple of questions in the meantime from guys who are also looking at a similar setup. So yeah, hit me up with your questions, or if you see something and you go, Paul, what are you doing? Why have you done that? You're making it take longer. Please tell me. I'm pretty sure I should have just left the whole thing, but I couldn't help myself. And I suppose that's what reefing's about. Anyway, probably put another video on before I go on holiday in a few weeks' time, and let you know how we're getting on. And then with a bit of luck, in the next 6 weeks, we'll have life in the tank. Thanks for watching.